Get in, nerds. We're playing Victoria 3. We are still working on building up railways. I've decided I am going to target Siak. What I'm hoping is that we can... Siak and Burma are neutral with me. We also have defensive pact with Johor. What I'm hoping is that Dai Nam chooses to get fighty. We can maybe take advantage of that to not have to face the brunt of both of these countries. On the other hand, I think as we build up construction capacity, as we build up taxation capacity, I'm going to feel more confident. So part of what I'm going to do here is I'm going to build up these government admins. Like, these shipyards are going to be necessary for making sure that we can run all these ports, and clippers are extremely expensive. So I am hoping we can get all of those built, and that should save the government some money, because right now we are spending 9.46k on clippers. So I'm hoping we can get that down to about half of that, which will save us about 4.5k. But I think the lion's share of the increased increased financial, the improvement in our financial situation is going to come from getting these government administrations built and getting this bureaucracy deficit sorted out. I realize I'm investing a lot in all of these railways right at the beginning here, but I just think that, like, once these are built, it'll be a while before we need another level, unless our construction capacity gets a lot higher, which I am hoping it does eventually. But for the moment, it's not going to be going anywhere, because we're trying to build up a gold reserve in order to get fighting in Indonesia. This has also unlocked the capacity to use rail transportation to automate some of the labor jobs out of these mines. I'm not necessarily going to do that, except in Hokkaido, where I absolutely am. And the reason I'm going to do that is because Hokkaido has a labor shortage. In fact, let's take a look at Hokkaido right now. Are there any other buildings where I could automate? Oh, I really need these barracks, though. I know it's a labor shortage, but I really need to have those barracks, friends. That's just the way of it. I have to have that done. So, the question is, yes, here we go. So, I thought our finances were improving by a second there. Oh, you know what? Because I thought the shipyards were done, and they're not done yet. So how's the market looking? I know we dramatically increased glass output last session. Oh my gosh, there's so much consumption of transportation right now. That's bananas. So glass has gotten significantly cheaper, which is interesting. I think we might have... I think we're going to go ahead and switch over to market squares. That's going to use a bunch more of this glass, but hopefully that'll just make the glassworks more profitable. And in the meantime, that'll continue to output... Yeah, here we go. So these are doing better. And so that'll output a bunch more services, which will in turn make that cheaper for everyone. But also, because we have a consumption tax on services, and it's a very productive consumption tax, maybe that'll translate into a little bit more cash for the government. Other market news. So excellent. So the reduction in the price of services has actually reduced the cost of transportation significantly. Transportation services are substitution goods of one another. So when transportation, so POPs can get their transportation needs met by buying transportation just as well as they can by buying a service. Well, not just as well. They would prefer to buy transportation, but they can live with buying services if they wish. We are going to need more lead, so I'm going to go ahead and queue up a couple more lead mines. We're going to also put them in... We're going to continue to do our lead mining in Tohoku for now. Go ahead and intersperse those with the gold mines. There's a lot of interesting stuff you can do with substitution. We already talked about coal and wood and how they work together to ensure that people get warm. And glass and services and transport are the same way. Actually, services can replace a bunch of different types of... services can replace a bunch of different types of goods, actually, truth be told. Excellent. So as you can see, we increased the level of the shipyards. Interesting. We increased the level of the shipyards, and that has made our finances much better. So unfortunately, the shogunate are petitioning the government to move to no social security. So what is that going to do overall? Currently we have poor laws. We are paying out 5.19k in welfare. The industrialists are going to be unhappy, and the trade unions are going to be very unhappy, but I think we can tolerate this. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Knock that out. The government petitions, and we accept, because we are a harmonious country where we do, where the government works with the elites to make sure the country is running fine. As you can see, we have a movement to preserve poor laws, but that will not affect much because the poor do not have very high political power, which is what it is. And I'll also sort our bureaucracy problem and remove this line item for welfare payments. So I might not actually need these government administrations, but I mean I will need them eventually, so it's probably not the wrong call to still build them. With that having been said, I think I'm going to go ahead and queue the shipyards back up higher because they're going to be a bigger part of our immediate financial, our immediate solution to our financial woes. As you can see, this is going quickly because we're moving fast. We're moving fast on reforms because we have a righteous government that everyone can be happy about. Siak, do you still have both of those defensive pacts? You do. Interesting. The better our finances get, the more tempting this war on Siak gets for me. I think I am going to need to do a round of conscription here. So, like, we've got 100 levels of conscription centers available in all of these things. And that level of conscription is going to be a massive strain on our finances. Like, just absolutely a bananas amount of cost. Now, obviously, it's going to be worth it because it's going to allow us to win this war, but it's going to be a huge strain on... Hey, we're in consideration already. In fact, if I'm going to even have the capacity to marshal a larger army, I'm going to need more munitions plants. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and get those queued up. Which means I'm going to need to build even more lead mines later if I do want to continue to increase the lead use of the production methods out of the glass works. Now, happily, going to crystal glass will completely eliminate the... Excuse me, Krakowian peasant revolt against the Kingdom of France? Was Krakow a French puppet? It is. That's wild. I don't know what's going on over there. Still have an Orleanist ruling France. That's interesting. They're feeling protective towards us, which I am appreciative of. We're continuing to improve our relations with our puppets. That's very good. Excellent. That's our capacity going up again. All right. I think I feel confident enough. Okay. Let's try to figure out exactly how much it's going to cost us to do this war. So, if I do conscription, if I conscript, say, 50 battalions, it's going to cost about as much as I'm currently paying for military stuff, which adds up to about 15k. I think I can tolerate that. So I think we're gonna go ahead and do this. I'm gonna leave one general in the home HQ, and I'm gonna really hope that I don't put myself, that when I marshal my additional battalions, that they go to a general who will use them. I'm gonna start with Shikoku, and we're gonna see where that general goes. I'll progress to adoption. Wonderful. And we'll see how the maneuvering goes. Ooh, not happy about that. We may end up needing to go ahead and raise taxes. In order to cover the cost of all the conscripts, if the Dutch East Indies involve themselves. Because if the Dutch East Indies involve themselves, we're going to have a situation on our hands. Because they have proper military methods, and they have a military of a reasonable size as well. So I'm really hoping they do not get involved. I'm going to go ahead and put an enlistment efforts decree on Shikoku. And that should allow us to get our units trained up. Alright, and the extra battalions are going to a general who is on the correct front. So that should be just fine. How long are you going to take to get there? 20 days, 21 days. Alright, that shouldn't be a problem. I'm feeling pretty confident. And part of the reason I'm feeling confident is because neither of these countries have actually put their battalions on this front. And I'm hoping that means that they're not actually serious about involving themselves in this whole situation. If we can get 3 coin flips out of 3, we can go directly to no Social Security, and that will cut some additional costs. That enlistment decree is actually very important in terms of making sure that our conscription centers over here get employed fast enough to actually involve themselves in this. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and pull this munitions plant up here just to make sure that I don't outpace my capacity to manufacture munitions in the course of doing this war. As you can see, we have a significant advantage over Siak now. So hopefully, and there's no Social Security. That's That's wonderful. Government petition completed. Very good. So hopefully, if Siam and Burma continue to not be involved, then we can just press straight on through and have Siak in our little empire, and everything can be hunky dory with that. We can get this nice little diplomatic pact line item ever increasing. 2 arms. Shame to be abandoned by one's allies, but it is an all too frequent occurrence. So I think after this, probably... Okay, so I'm not going to need these munitions plants anytime really soon, so I'm not going to worry about them for now. We'll put them back up where they were before, between the 2 batches of lead mines. And this battle is going just excellently. As you can see, we have a significant numerical and technological advantage, so we're winning there. And that is just fine. So let's return to Japan and our plans for technological growth. We'll be finishing out with banking in just about a month. Okay, there it goes. I'm actually going to seriously consider whether or not it makes more sense to take a little detour over to mass communication first. Mass communication will take us 22 months, but because it's lower tier than Central Archives, it will reduce the innovation cost of Central Archives by a bit. So, Central Archives currently costs 15k, but once this changes over, once we finish with banking, that number is going to go down. Okay. Just going to let that go for a second. We're winning the second battle here, very good. And here's banking. So, now Central Archives is only going to take, well, it's still 3 years. And now we have mass communications spreading to us. I'm going to do mass communications first. And then we'll go through to water tube boiler and chemical bleaching. Because this is only going to take about 1.25 years, maybe less. And on top of that, we're going to actually, I'm going to build up another university. Now, there are a few levels of universities now that we've got some capacity for that. Maybe just 2 levels. So that's going to increase tech spread by a bit. And we're going to be able to take advantage of that when the time comes pretty significantly. Happily, now we have these new shipyards built. That's going to save the government a little bit of cash. Just going to go ahead and click Vassalize Siak here. They are losing war support at 7.83 per week. That's going to be just fine. We're going to be completely able to do what we want to do. Let me just quickly check something here. Oh, interesting. We have... Oh, because we have a puppet here, we get this interest for free. So let's declare an interest in Indochina. Because I may wish to get scrappy there as well. How's our infamy doing? We're still at 5.7, which is, you know, a little bit of infamy, but that won't be too bad. As you can see, the war support of our enemies is going down pretty fast now, so hopefully we should be able to get this war knocked out. However, the conscription centers in Shikoku are very, very high in employment now, which means that we've got a bunch of battalions on the line here. Interestingly, they've split between our leaders, which I've rarely seen happen. But I guess, I mean, that's good. Like, that is what we want. That is the way we want conscription centers to work, because we don't want to be in a situation where all of our battalions are in the hands of a general who's not going to use them. In the words of Abraham Lincoln, I should like to use the Union Army if you're not doing anything with it. Right. So, Dainam. You have a proper army, right? Tonkin is your capital. Oh, don't. Interesting. See, Dainam is a... Well, actually, let's look at conscription centers before we... You're looking at line infantry. Interesting. Because Dainam... Oh, you're a tributary of China. No. You have Cambodia as a tributary. And you're an unrecognized regional power with a GDP of 5.24 million. So you are actually a very tempting target to vassalize. Oh, 49.5 infamy. We're never going to be able to make that happen. Alright, well, there's an interesting idea. So as you can see, now our finances are doing much, much better. So in order to make use of that, our demand for lead should be going down because our munitions plants should be reducing staff now that the war's over and all of these people have gone back to work in Shikoku. So we don't need these lead mines quite as urgently. Nor do we need the government administration as urgently. I'm going to go ahead and... Are we still getting those debuffs? How long are these going to last? 4 more months on this one, 8 more months on this one. Alright, so we've really got some capacity. Let's, maybe we'll work on towards increasing our investment levels in policing. I'll have the additional benefit of keeping the shogunate nice and strong. Again, we're completely fine with weakening them, but we're not necessarily trying to weaken them the way we would normally do in a run where we were planning on doing a lot of reform and industrialization and whatnot. So, now that we've got some finances, let's see how well our industry can take an expansion of the construction sector. We're going to need 50 additional iron and 40 additional wood for each level. So how do things look? We've got... Could probably tolerate 2 more levels on this stuff right away, and then maybe 2 more a little later. Or I could get ambitious and go with 4 levels immediately. Let's just go with 2 for now. Interesting. Vietnam and Siam and their rivalries. The two are both feeling cooperative towards me, which is interesting. So Dainam obviously will be far too much infamy for me to actually take over. Although Russia might side with us, but I don't know how much that, how well that's going to work. But I might, Cambodia has a GDP of 1.85 million, So if I forcibly transfer Cambodia over to me, fight them during that, that will give them some time to, that will give them some time. But on the other hand, it will allow me to have a front with them when I decide to fight them eventually, which is extremely tempting. So I think Cambodia might be our next target. Also, Johor. Johor does not have... Johor has a pretty small GDP, but it doesn't have an overlord. Let me see. What about these other places? Perak, pretty small GDP, no overlord. Selangor is a French dominion, so I'm not going to be going for them. So just bits of British Raj and Great Britain here. Okay. Still think Cambodia is a good target. Burma... What would it take to vassalize? Are you... Why are you not available to make a vassal? Because we have a truce. So that'll be 48.3 infamy. I can't tolerate that. And then Siam, I think, is going to be even more, but let's just look at the options. If I vassalize you, that's going to be 49.9. Interesting. So any of these places would be a potentially viable target, but none of them is extraordinarily tempting. Bhutan, you're somebody... No, you're just very small. An agitator. Takamori Minami has arrived. He's an abolitionist. He will start a movement for tenant farmers. I think we might just go ahead and do that, because tenant farmers would be very nice to have. That would unlock a lot of different options for us. Going to tenant farmers would irritate who? The samurai would be unhappy, and the shogunate would be unhappy. They might be unhappy enough to fight the government over it. We'll see. But that all depends on him actually doing that, which he might, and he might not. Where's our iron and wood at? Pretty okay. Excuse me? Finding both the Japanese public and supposed political allies unreceptive to his ideas, frustrated, Takamori Minami has decided to retire from the realm of politics, opting instead to spend the rest of his days penning embittered reflections on what could have been. I give these bumpkins the truth, and how am I rewarded? With deafening silence. And they call Kyoto a city of ideas, of culture. The only evidence of cultivation I've found in that cesspool of a city came from the fields outside of it, and even they were cared for poorly. Good riddance, I say to you all, sirs. Good riddance to you all. So, let him peddle his ideas in peace away from Kyoto. He retires and settles domestically, increasing the strength of the Buddhist monks. Politely inform him his presence is unwanted in the Japanese shogunate. He leaves, or the Majesty needs a nudge to get him back into the game. Is he not popular enough? Is that why he didn't do his movement? I've never actually done this. It's going to cost us 41k for... Nope, I don't want to pay that kind of money. I know my finances are a lot better, but I need it for growing the economy. So, he can relax. He's doing fine. It's all doing fine. We can all have a good time without him. Huh. Turn off enlistment efforts. I'm realizing I have a decree here increasing migration attraction that is not doing anything. Oh no, that's resources. Never mind. I'm silly. Let's do violent suppression. Why do I have turmoil here? I'm not sure. I genuinely don't understand. Probably... I mean, obviously it's all the radicals, but why are there so many radicals here? Probably because of the discriminated pops. Again, I'm not actively spending enough to reduce the surplus in my economy right now, just because I'm at a pretty good point in terms of the balance of my overall resources. And I want to kind of ride this wave for a bit. On the other hand, it is tempting to build up a few more, but that's going to strain my productive capacity for iron, among other things. So but the temptation is so high. It is going to cost us significantly to do this, but I think I'm going to go ahead and do it. We're going to put 2 more levels of construction sectors. I think we'll put them both in Kansai. Queue those up to the top to make sure they get done immediately. And that it's going to basically max us out on iron. We do have some iron mines being built by the private sector here. We also have another level of motor industries, which I guess makes sense because... Excuse me, Russia, dial it back. I thought we were friends, Russia. Why would you... We have a defensive pact, and they don't want to be such good friends. That's really curious. I'm genuinely really saddened by that. I'm going to go ahead and increase my relationship with Siak because I want them to continue to consider me their rightful ruler. We are getting a more significant amount of diplomatic pact income now. This is not a lot, but again, we're not necessarily like... In the grand scheme of things, it's not that much, but for a small economy that's still growing, this is quite a bit of diplomatic pact income. Undeserved blame. Some Japanese people are unfairly blaming the living conditions in Kyushu on their Micronesian neighbors. They say they've taken all the jobs, that we make it impossible for them to earn a fair wage, but we suffer just as much as them. We must all learn to live together. This causes a penalty to authority. Ignore it. I'm going to ignore it. This gives us a -1 standard of living for Micronesian pops in Kyushu. How much of Kyushu is Micronesian? Let's find out together. 132 people. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That doesn't really seem like that much of a problem for me. I think that's a reduction that I can tolerate. Like, at this point, that's a really extreme minority. Which is not to say that making life worse for minorities for the benefit of the government is good, but it is something that we can tolerate in this situation. Again, this is not a run where we are trying to necessarily reform the country. We're just looking at building up the economy, getting ourselves a nice little empire here. And yeah, we are considering options to explore to increase the overall size and strength of our empire and to continue to develop our economy. But for now, we've got to put a pin in it because this session is getting really, really late. I've had fun. I hope you all have had fun as well. And I will see you all on the other side.